Welcome to the Fife Property Market Update. Different from 12 o'clock today, rather than the usual 7 o'clock tonight. I've got something on, so I need to do this earlier. Anyway, let's talk about the Fife Property Market overall. First of all, I'm going to dive into the numbers. Then what I'll do is I'll look at Zoopla's numbers overall, how many properties are actually available throughout Fife. I'll talk about some of the shows that we did during the week and why it's important that you would, for certain groups of people, you should tune into that, like yourself. And then also what I'll talk about is what's coming on, what's been sold, and then we'll finalise and we'll finish off with a wealth creation show. What history has taught me is tune in, listen in, because you never know. There might be that wee snippet of detail that might actually help you on your property search journey or your property selling journey overall. Okay, let's jump right into the figures. Now, right across the Fife property market, for most people, you will know what this means. However, if you're just for the first time you're tuning in, let me just explain. So this is all the properties last week. It was sold with all the agents on Rightmove, right across the whole of Fife, by split down by region, by Cooper, East Neuk, St Andrews, Levenmouth, Dunfermline, Glenorchy, and Kirkcaldy. It says exactly there. And we also total that up: what's instructed, what came on versus what's sold, and it gives a good idea about supply and demand in the area. After all, we're getting told all the doom and gloom by the UK government and also by the think tanks that there seems to be a crisis in the property market right now. I don't see that in particular. I see a I see a slowdown, and I see possibly a realignment, but I don't see any crisis at all at this point in time. There's no indicators that suggest that, especially when we look at these numbers again. And as I said, let's look at them overall. Okay, so there's the Cooper market. So 13 properties actually came on last week with all the estate agents. 14 properties actually sold. So guess what? Supply is outstripping demand. East Neuk, 6 came on, 4 actually sold. St Andrews, 4 came on, 5 sold. Supply outstripping demand. Levenmouth, 13 came on, 11 sold. Dunfermline, 49 versus 44. Glenorchy, 11 came on, 15 sold. Supply outstripping demand. Kirkcaldy, 11 came on, 19 sold. Supply outstripping demand. How many times do I need to say that? Supply outstripping demand. It's still a seller's market at the right price. This is key here, and let me explain in a wee while. So we'll just jump back into this now. I'll come back to that. So overall, 107 properties actually listed, 112 properties actually sold in that same week. So again, there's more properties being bought in last week than actually put on the market for sale. Now, we find what happens is it tends to be the properties round about up to about 250,000 that sell extremely well, and exceptional properties after that in higher price points, and then it peters off in terms of the demand because the audience, actually the number of buyers out there, actually narrow in terms of as the price goes up, because the affordability levels are a lot less than they were last year. In other words, mortgage last year was maybe 2%. A mortgage now is 5%. It's almost 2.5 times what it was last year in terms of the interest. But interestingly enough, what the same amount of money you paid last year for your mortgage on a monthly basis, it would maybe get you £200,000 a mortgage. Now it can only get you around about 140 to 150,000 pound a mortgage. So that's why it's a fundamental difference in buying power has actually realigned overall. So that's the cool down demand. Now, remember, it was a boom market last year. My cat could have sold a house at that point in time. This year, it's a bit different. This is all about chain building. This is all about making sure that because more than likely people have got houses to sell. So somebody's going to come along and offer on your property, and more than likely they'll have a house to sell because the cash buyers are not out there in abundance anymore. So that's probably the rhetoric that's going to happen. And we are seeing that. We're also seeing as well as a slight anomaly on a short-term basis, where people are now getting to the point and saying, well, actually, I can't afford that anymore because council tax has gone up, utility bills are up, and my affordability levels have actually down on what I was able to budget for last year. So that's why you sometimes get withdrawals from properties for sale. But it's straightforward enough to get somebody to actually step into their shoes, that person's shoes, and actually buy the property again. It's just a case of going to somebody in line, it was there before, or potentially putting it back onto the market. And usually somebody picks it up within about 2 or 3 weeks from there. Okay, now, so that's what I've done with supply and demand. Let's look at the number of properties actually available for sale, according to Zoopla, put my teeth back in, Zoopla and Fife. So I'll just quickly get the Zoopla um, website up here. I think that'll be the one on Google here. I'll just put it on Google. Yeah, it is here. So I'll type in Zoopla, zoopla.co.uk. Let's just put this one, and we've got it here. Now, quick one, you can do this for yourself overall. Just type in Fife. We've got Fife location, and we're sitting at 1,011. So there it is there, 1,011 properties for sale right through sub Fife. Now, in the boom times, that was a way down at 550, even at 500 at some point. So we've now got double the amount of properties on the market we did have last year and potentially the year before. Therefore, we've got potentially in a short-term basis an oversupply. Now, this was last month and it was still at just over 1,000 like it is just now. So I've got a funny feeling this is a stabilisation. The number of properties for sale across the Fife property market will stabilise round about 1,000 overall for sale. It means buyers have a lot more choice in terms of what they are actually looking for overall. That's the key here. So buyers have got a lot more choice in what they're looking for. Therefore, they'll be a bit more fussy. Therefore, prices, you have to price attractively in order to sell your house. Definitely. For people that have been on for quite a considerable amount of time, then you might want to think about realigning to introduce it to a new audience and actually allow your estate agent to push that person back up to the true price point it was in the first place, because that is a really good strategy. It works. Okay, let me talk about what's coming onto the market and what is actually sold and over the line. This gives a good indication about where we are right now in terms of price point. Just let me just quickly do a quick adjustment to my camera. The definition is just slightly different here. That should come back online. Yep, bit more clearer here. It just went out of focus for a wee while. Thought my glasses had steamed up. Anyway, so what's coming soon? Watch out for these ones. Now, these are the ones I'm going to mention that are coming onto the market. We've signed them up. They're ready to go in the next couple of weeks. If you're interested in this property in this area, then message us direct. Contact us with your details because we can get you registered to get you the advanced information before anyone else. Why would you register with an estate agent? Because you can look at it on the website when it comes on. Well, by the time it comes on the website when it comes on, it's often too late because everybody else has got a bite of the cherry on social media because it goes on there first. And then they've also got a bite of the cherry before that because then they're registered with us in our system and then they get advance notice sent out to them on an email before it actually goes onto a website. So that's the key here. This is why you register with your estate agent to make sure you've got your details and you're up to date with what you're looking for. That's the fundamental principle of doing that. You never needed to do that before. Because the internet, you were able to do it. But the advent of social media and the fact that properties are getting launched on there before they get on websites like Rightmove and Prime Location and Zoopla, suggests that you need to follow the estate agent's page and also register them with beforehand to just get that property you want. I mean, if you're looking for your dream home, you could lose out on it just because of that couple of days that you missed between the point that actually it went on a social media channel and the point it actually went on a website. You might be too late. And that's possibly the case for one of these properties that I've actually gone on recently, because I've got an offer already. The seller cannot refuse. Okay, let me talk about what's coming on then. Wester Drawn Cottage in Daresy. This is a 4-bedroom semi-detached cottage will be coming on. Tolbooth Wynd is also coming on in Crail, a 3-bedroom end terraced house. Cross Hills in Uchtermurty, which is a 2-bedroom ground floor apartment. Mary Way and Glenrothes, a 2-bedroom detached house will be coming on. High Street in Strathmiglo, 2-bedroom semi-detached house will be coming on. And there's one in Aberhill in Methil, which is a 2-bedroom ground floor flat. Probably a good first-time buyer or maybe an investor's property for anyone who wants to start on their journey. Okay, what is completed? Now, this is keys handed over. In other words, keys handed over, it's now completed. I can tell you what it went for, and actually, so you get a good idea about what these prices are actually going for and how much more and how much quicker these properties are actually selling for. For example, here's one here, West End Cottage in Killessie. This was a 2-bedroom semi-detached cottage it actually went on originally, and it sold in 6 weeks it took to sell that one, and it sold for £185,000. Basically, it sold for the home report value. So leveling off, you can see the prices are leveling off there. Some areas are not leveling off at all, but in that area it did on that occasion. It maybe suited the buyer as well and the seller to have that right price point because it was attractive, maybe because of some of the other details, like for example, the entry date was flexible or the exit, it was a cash offer. That's the sort of things that drives it forward as well. Links Road in Links, a 2-bedroom first floor flat that was sold in 9 days, so a lot quicker, and it was sold for 8.3% of the home report value, which represented another £12,500 to the seller. Paid for all their fees and gave them cash back in the exercise. Veterana Vale, 3-bedroom detached bungalow, it sold in 17 days for the home report value. So home report value again. So prices are actually going a wee bit more on home report value. Generally, an average, we're getting around about £7,000-8,000 over. But remember, that's average. If you're looking for an exceptional property, it's probably going to be significantly more you're going to have to pay for that one. Birch Tree Place in Thornton, a 2-bedroom end terraced house, sold in 4 weeks for just over the home report value, representing another £3,500 to the seller. Scooney Hill Road in St Andrews, 3-bedroom terraced house, sold in 3 weeks for just over 5% of the home report value, which represented another 42,000 over the home report value. Watson Place in Anstruther. I had just met Ben there yesterday to hand over the keys to him. That was a 2-bedroom upper maisonette. It sold in 2 months at the home report value. Ticked all the boxes. And we did a video on that, and I actually had a chat with Ben about what he intends to do with the property and how he intends to refurbish it. And we'll I'll put that together and I'll show you that, and I'll show you what the end result was as well. Kind of like a Homes Under the Hammer we're going to do in terms of our next production. So I did that with Ben yesterday. Okay, so the next one in here is Round Crescent Methil, 3-bedroom semi-detached villa. It sold in 2 weeks for 37.6% over the home report value. Yes, I'll say that again, near enough 40% of the home report value. This represented 20,000 more than the £80,000 it was on it for this property. So owner delighted. 7 other people missed out on that property. So if you're out there and you're looking to sell a property in Round Crescent and Methil, 3-bedroom semi-detached villa, you're getting around about 110,000 for them right now. And they're more than likely going to go at a closing date. Okay, so that's what's been sold. A couple of shows that we did during the week and a couple of bits of advice. Okay, replacing a sharer. If you are a HMO landlord or you are a landlord that maybe does tenancy shares, Richard and I did a good show yesterday and a podcast yesterday as well about what you need to do legally in order to comply with the legislation, and the best way forward if you want to replace one. If a sharer is moving out, in other words, if somebody decides to move out, what happens? What happens with the tenancy overall and in between. And I'll just quickly tell you about the subjects here. I've got them here. What do you do with the notice period for all the parties? What's the law around replacing sharers? How do you actually go about finding a replacement for a sharing tenant? And then how do you update the tenancy agreement? And then how do you do it so it's smooth with the legal changeovers as well? So that was on yesterday. You could click on this link on this post and it will drive you through to these podcasts and shows and articles as well if you want a bit more detail on that. Now that's that one. So the other one during the week was, we have it here, was I did with Richard actually about the Fife housing market. Okay, so if you want to know more about the Fife housing market, because remember what I told you at the beginning, the very fact that the Fife housing market, everybody's sitting telling us the Fife housing market or the housing market overall is in a challenged position. And, well, according to the statistics that I just rolled out there at the beginning, what I just said, it's not. So we did a huge in-depth analysis of this, where analysis of where Fife people are actually moving. In other words, where are all the homeowners in the sector in the last 12 months and the housing data, and what that actually reveals about who's moving, who's buying, who's renting, and all these different statistics, and who's got a mortgage as well. It's actually really, enlightening information. You can see there's a nice chart on there as well. But again, that's in the link here if you want to watch if you want to listen to the podcast, watch the show, or you can just read the article itself. It's in the link in this post. The final one for me is Wealth Creation Show. Watch out for this. Actually, let me just jump onto the rental reform questionnaire. It has to be in by the 27th. If you're a landlord out there or a letting agent, you need to respond to this. The Scottish Government has actually proposed on the 29th September, SAL, Scottish Association of Landlords, emailed all their members about the published paper and the response questionnaire setting out the proposals for progressing some of the rental reform measures by the Scottish Government, which was originally consulted in 2021. Now, you might think that the questionnaire is completely biased, but remember, it's based on what they're intending to do. So they're looking, so you've just got to play the hand you're dealt with. There's previous consultation in there as well. If you need a copy of that proposal in order to respond to it, because you're a landlord or a letting agent, then just message us direct on this post and we will send that proposal link over to you from the Scottish Government's website so you can put your input in. It has to be done by the 27th of October or you're out. And we've got no reprieve. It has to be done by the 27th of October. That's when the consultation period ends. So if you're a letting agent, or if you're a landlord, or even if you're a tenant, and you want to have your say as well to this rental reform legislation coming into place next year, which the government's proposing, then by all means message us direct and we'll send you that link. It is so important that you give that feedback to the Scottish Government so they understand the current position of the lettings market. There's an impression out there straight away that landlords are actually hiking their rents up to the sky high in order to get as maximum amount of money as possible. That is not the case. Myself, my average rents are still 23% below inflation. So this is all about lies, damn lies, and statistics. You can make anything look the way you want it to look. There's an impression, again, that the average rent is over £1,000, when in actual fact, according to Zoopla, which collects the most data on rent and analysis, it's £772 a month is the average in the whole of Scotland. That is affordable in terms of the average salary in Scotland as well. So there's people a lot higher than that, clearly, but there's people a lot lower than that as well, which is even more affordable for the rent. So we need to feed this back to the Scottish Government as letting agents and as landlords as well. And as tenants as well. You know, if tenants, do you want your say, please feel free to message me direct. All the information's in there. It's about 31 questions. It literally is a multiple choice. You're not getting to say what your opinion is. It's a multiple choice, take it or leave it, and that's it, done. But it's important that you put your feedback through there for the new rental reform legislation coming in for Scotland. Finally, I want to quickly talk about, we're going to talk about that, Richard and I, tomorrow, about on our wealth creation show. This is quite an interesting subject because I picked this up off the week. I'm looking about for my information here as to what it was to talk about. I know it's all about health and everything, but I want to really give you the official title for this. The Wealth Creation Show. Talk yourself into health, wealth and happiness. This sounds like a whole load of baloney, doesn't it? About talking yourself into health, wealth, and happiness. But if you watch the current position of the practitioners, specialists in the health field, there's a lot more to health than actually just going to the doctors and saying what's wrong and popping a pill. It is you could almost think yourself into your health. This is because classic example. This is tried and tested system anyway. In terms of what happened before, this was an experiment. It was done years and years ago, and what they did was they found a group of people that had a certain health problem, and then what they did was they split them up into two groups. They gave one group the actual medicine that would solve their health problem, and they gave the other group a placebo, which was a fake medicine, which wouldn't do anything anyway. It was like a vitamin pill, and it just tasted nice and orangey or whatever it was. And but they believed that was going to sort their health problem as well. And what they found was actually the people that took the placebo were just as healthy at the end of it than the people that actually took the medication. It was more a mental thing. These people, it helped them for their wealth and their health and their overall mental health. It was a mindset process, and there's a lot of people out there have a lot of information would actually back that up. Now, Tim Spector, Dr. Tim Spector, is actually, if you want to watch that on Steve Bartlett's Diary of a CEO, talks about this in detail. And he actually mentions one time where a woman was actually, her thyroid was removed, and because of her mindset, her thyroid grew back in, which is an impossibility under medical conditions, but it did. So this is why I talked about it last week, and I says, let's do a show about this for the Wealth Creation Show. Let's talk about your health and how you can talk yourself into health, wealth, and happiness. So Richard and I are going to be talking about this tomorrow at 12:30. I'd suggest if you've if you've got a bit of reservations about this, because it sounds like a bit of mumbo jumbo, but it's stood itself in good stead for me all these years. I mean, I've crashed on my bike, ripped half my face open, and within a week, completely healed. And yet even the doctors were defied about the fact that how is that possible? You basically ripped your skin and right off the side of your face, and within a week it's completely healed. Uh, but I do believe there's a lot of things that I do, and there's a lot of things that we're going to talk about tomorrow that are in balance with each other, actually help people overall. There's a mindset as well, as the most negative people are actually usually the most unhealthiest people, because of that. And it's a lot to do with mindset. So we'll talk about that tomorrow on the Wealth Creation Show, 12:30, Richard and I. It'll be live. And you can jump in and see your comments and your questions and stuff like that as well. But it purely based on my own personal experience over the years. A lot of people say, how on earth do you stay so healthy and so active? And how are you so fired up all the time at 56-year-old, when that's what most people say to me? That's what I found over the years. So I kind of think I want to talk about this, and I want to show people what I actually do and tell people what I actually do to get to that sort of level of activity and that mindset overall. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. You got any questions later on, please feel free to mention anything or talk about anything. And until next time, guys, I'm Jim Parker for Fife Properties TV. Have a fantastic day.